best ways to counter intolerance, violence and extremism were addressed, along with discussions on the importance of respecting religion, secularism and pluralism, aiming at highlighting common human values among people. During the meeting, President al-Sisi asserted that Al-Azhar is a beacon of moderate Islamic thinking, referring to its large responsibility to provide a real and civilized model of Islam to confront calls for extremism and terrorism. The President also hailed the continued efforts by Al-Azhar in renewing religious discourse on both internal and external levels, and to emphasize the values of progress, tolerance and acceptance of others, especially in this current stage as the country is facing the unprecedented challenge of rapidly growing terrorism.
Right, welcome back. That was in preparation for tomorrow's important conference held by Al-Azhar, and will tackle, of course, this important issue of citizenship and freedom. Getting back to you, Priest Nair, and you mentioned that you have attended an important conference in Denmark where they discussed the issue of terrorism. And we really need to understand how in Denmark did they tackle such a threat, and how is it different, the way they tackled it from the way we tackle it here?
I think they are thinking about similar issues and sometimes different issues. Similar issues that all the world witness some terrorism accident around the world. They witness some of them, and the close cities to Denmark witness other accidents. So they are talking about what about our security? How do we have a balance between security and freedom? Because sometimes if you overestimated the security, you will lose the freedom of the people, because you are not allowed to do this or that, because sometimes the security, for the security reasons and things like this. And the other issue is the migrant people. The immigrant people, they are going or coming from tourism cities, witness tourism, or
you mean here
witness war.
Migrants who left their country or who flee their country away from what we can call sometimes injustice, civil war, sometimes attacks by terrorists. Those are families that were victims of terrorism themselves.
Yeah, most of them, they are victims. But sometimes inside these groups, you could find one
infiltrators.
So sometimes you will see someone coming from Syria. He is a very good and humble person, and he escaped from war and bombing everywhere, killing in every street. But sometimes you find someone inside these people. They are attacking their nation. So how they examine these people to who will be a Danish or Dane, or who will be in the prison. So you have a lot of people coming from the war countries. Some of them, they are innocent. Some of them, they are victims. Some of them, they are tourists. Some of them terrorism. Some of them radical. So they are not one unit.
So they are exploring the variety of people who are coming to their own nation, whether or not they would be able to integrate them into their communities.
Yeah, but in a hard way, because France, for example, witnessed some terrorism accidents coming from immigrants people. So in this situation, who will be a good citizen in our society? It's close to our situation, but it's far because it's talking about immigrants people. In our context, we are talking about citizenship as a cover for all citizens, for our society. And it's a challenge in this conference. I like the title of the conference, Citizenship and Freedom, and then how we cooperate together to have these slogans.
Yes, that is the conference that will be taking place
right.
Tomorrow. And another one that has been that took place between Al-Azhar and the Vatican.
Yes.
And the Pontifical Council.
I attended that. Yeah.
Yes, you, sir, attended that. And we need to understand what was the discourse, what was the discussion that went on in this?
The discussion was very good and very fruitful. And it tells you something very important, because there was discontinuation between the Vatican and Al-Azhar, and I think that was a waste of time. Because the time we got back to each other, I think the issues being raised are very important to search it together. And when many issues were discussed. In what way we can handle the religious discourse in both religions. In what way we can have the word of just peace, as I've just told you about the story in my dialogue with Turan, Cardinal Turan, the very interesting personality that I have met with. Actually, we have talked about in what way violence and dogmatism and extremisms have some roots. In what way, what are these roots, and how can we handle them together? Not one person or one party is doing it and the other party is watching. No, let us have some kind of joint action. And I think this is the conference of tomorrow is a continuation of that. But let me elaborate on something very important that we have already elaborated upon. When it comes to, are you talking about religious discourse inside our countries or inside Europe, as my friend Rami is trying to tell us? I think in Paris, you know, it's very important to cite the title of the conference being held in Sharm el-Sheikh with the Prime Minister. It is the religious discourse and social development, right? This is the title. Actually, in Paris, there is, if you go and visit, you can find on the internet no-go areas where you can have difficulties dealing with the people. And from there, the terrorist operation came. And actually, it tells you about the future. Our future with the West is based on so many things, but one of them is two words: integration and assimilation. Those people who live in Denmark or who lived in Germany or in France, they should have, the societies should have helped them to integrate. But unfortunately, there is a wave of assimilation. This is by the right-wing people. Like when you have Wilders in Holland, who made his his infamous movie, Fitna, where he tried to depict the destruction of the two towers only on the basis of Quranic verses, which he misinterpreted like the terrorist exactly. Like when he said this, وَأَعِدُّوا لَهُمْ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ and وَمِن رِّبَاطِ الْخَيْلِ تُرْهِبُونَ بِهِ عَدُوَّ اللَّهِ وَعَدُوَّكُمْ آخَرِينَ مِن دُونِهِمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَهُمْ. He put the two towers and put this verse. And he said, prepare every possible power to terrorize. Turhibuna here in Arabic does not mean to terrorize at all, if anybody knows Arabic. It is to deter, is to instill respect.
Yes,
exactly. Because the verse after it, وَإِنْ جَنَحُوا لِلسَّلْمِ, this is 60.
Yes.
So 61, وَإِنْ جَنَحُوا لِلسَّلْمِ, if they lean to peace, lean to peace. So this is not terrorism. But being depicted, all the pictures, we have to look at the whole picture, I mean. And if you can see the radical discourse from the West trying to interpret Quran in a wrong way, it is the same way the terrorists are interpreting it. So there is a joint action in the wrong direction.
And that in itself brings what we speak about, this message of hatred.
Correct.
And hatred could be a way to traumatize people, to put them on the defense all the time, and even to hate even their partners in life.
Yeah.
That is a big issue that we need to speak about. Yes, if we need to speak about Muslims and that they should be discussing how to be dealing with this aspect or initiate this discourse, we also want to speak about Christians and how do they perceive this issue? How can we really work together in order to prevent a message or a hatred speech from filling the hearts of people here?
Yeah, it's very difficult to categorize the Christians in general, because some of them would love people and say we love all the people.
Yes,
sometimes
definitely we've always been living in tolerance, and we've always had our families all together. The issue is that when sometimes those attacks sometimes initiate a kind of uneasiness with the situation.
Yeah, that's true. So sometimes we have another category or other people, maybe they witness terrorism attack like Arish or other places, and they have her heart hurted. So they try to be radical inside themselves. And sometimes they even doesn't have a weapon in their hand. Sometimes they have, but most of the time they are talking with hate speech.
How are you dealing with this situation? Because that really is very dangerous in itself.
Yeah, I think all Egyptians, Muslims and Christians, need to work on this issue. For example, in the Christian side, we need to talk that not all Muslims as extremism, but some of them, they are human beings, or most of them, they are moderate in Egypt, and we could see this in everywhere, every street, every table, every school, every hospital. You could find just moderate people. But the extremism people, they are rare, few, but they are making a lot of troubles because they are pumping, having weapons and things like that. So we encourage people to see the realistic way of thinking and seeing other people who are moderate beside them in the school, in the houses, in the neighborhood and things like this. That's the first one. Second one is that we need to challenge them to build bridges with others people. So we have a tolerance, we have coexistence, we have an active citizenship in our society. So we are telling them we are equal in rights and we are under the law. So we are committed to these goals. And sometimes really we find
societal dialogue, for an instance. Do you have a kind of societal dialogue even among the Christian community together? I mean, here speaking of what is going on, why is this happening? How can we deal with this situation? Is this a case against us, or it's against all the Egyptian nation at large? I mean, do these societal debates take place?
Yeah, we play a very important role in this, especially in SEOS and dialogue. We are working mainly on building bridges between Muslims and Christians, women and elders, men and youth, every person in the society. We have a dialogue, so we have a forum, and we invite many people and many groups around Egypt to have this kind of dialogue and to have openness dialogue and to open platform for all the people. Sometimes the people come to us and saying, okay, I hate this direction, or I hate this religion, or things like, with an open. But after a while, after dialogue, they understand each other, and they understand most of Egyptians, they are against tourism. And this is very important. In SEOS, we are working, we are holding like hundreds of workshops, conferences and seminars talking about these issues as a citizen, equal citizen in our society. And we discuss these issues, this kind of issues, in equal rights and talking about it.
I'd like to say something about that.
Yeah.
You know, I'll tell you something very interesting, a very nice story about the societal coexistence, because Egyptian experience is very, very unique. And those people here, my friends in this organization, so yeah, I have conducted several trainings for imam and for priests together, several times with the Ministry of Awqaf. So it was joint work with them. And actually, the first time they called for me to provide them something about negotiation, because it's my expertise. And I, in a very brotherly way, I said, I really have some worries. I'm really a little bit, I'd like to know something. There is evangelical discourse that would hit the Al-Aqsa Mosque and brought the Jewish temple, and it is under evangelism. And at that time, a friend of mine there told me, wait a second. Could you wait a second? And your headquarters were in the downtown, which is the original, the first one, yeah. And he went to one of the bookshop, and he brought me the book of my friend, Qas Akram Lamay, priest Akram Lamay, Dr. Akram Lamay, which would tell that the mainstream Christianity against anything like that. And they are in particular against things like that, against any destructive religious discourse. And they gave me the book on the spur of the moment. And from that moment, the dialogue was excellent. I opened up to the high ceiling of dialogue, and they responded with the high ceiling with a lot of good spirit and the good, and I enjoyed it. And from that moment, really, I started to look at the way they are dealing with things.
Exactly. Yeah. That kind of sincere dialogue is the one
needed,
very much needed.
Yeah.
But if I may also return to you, Dr. Hassan, and as I said that there should be societal debate, I also say, do we have an authority that is really capable of monitoring who are interpreting the verses of Quran, who are giving lectures or lecturing youths, people, giving lectures or even giving khutbah in mosques, and all this issue? Because during the 2 years after the first revolution, 25th revolution, we've seen enormous sheikhs, or who call themselves sheikhs and imams, going with enormous numbers of fatwas that really brought us to ground. I mean, we've never heard of such issues. So who is really monitoring, who is the authority in control of monitoring those people and training and seeing who can be really lecturing and who not, who is not capable?
I think Al-Azhar is the only institution. It's not because I am from Al-Azhar, but the whole world, if you read the articles all over the world, Al-Azhar has a lot of credibility, and it's a very still, we call it authoritative, not authoritarian, authoritative institution in training and getting moderate Islam right. I think support of Al-Azhar, developing Al-Azhar is our right avenue. And I think that there are certain developments that should be very good. You know, the Grand Imam has already established a strategy, which is made of several chains. Chain number one, which is for reforming the religious discourse inside and outside Egypt. When we have this center for 20 observer, it's called the Observer, 24 hours, 8 languages, responding to everyone about Islam, responding to the wrong arguments and refuting them. Number one, this is chain number one. Chain number two is the Arwiqa, you know, the place where Al-Azhar used to be having this rawaq, the rawaq for the Moroccans. Or, the rawaq are being reopened now, and it offers a symposia It offers meetings, it offers, and it's open for Muslims and non-Muslims.
What
which is very
about the most dangerous tool that we have in this era, the internet and the social media?
Yeah, actually, when it comes to this area, the observer is playing. He's the playground of the observer in the internet. It's not face-to-face communication. It is responding to everything in the world and especially in the internet. So the internet is there where the whole problem and the whole recruitments comes from it. I think the observer is being established for this particular point and for having very well-trained people in 8 languages and with good Islamic knowledge.
Exactly.
So I think, but this is not marketed enough. Nobody knows about this. But this one of the chain, and the Rawaq is another very important chain, and the dispute resolution, and Beit al-Aila, which is made of Christians and Muslims, and it's hub in al-Azhar. So I think we have 7 chains like that. More is the news, the Noor, you know, the magazine for the kids, to tell them the stories and nice things, not Disney stuff, but it is Egyptian stuff, which instruct them for the correct religious healthy dialogue. And this is under the auspices of the president and under the auspices of Al-Azhar.
Priest Nair, just to wrap up our episode here, and I need to know from your point of view, how could religious discourse really bring in the harmony with the spirit that we need at this stage?
Yeah, I think so. I think that sometimes we misuse the term renewing religious discourse in 2 sides. If we overload everything for Al-Azhar or for the church only, because renewing religious discourse,
it's a societal thing.
It's a societal issue, and it's education,
and media.
purpose, media, everyone in the society. He is part of renewing religious discourse, living with religious discourse. This is one issue. And second issue is that we need to cooperate together to doing this soon.
Yes, I guess we need to cooperate together. This is the exact term that we need. Unfortunately, my time is out and I have to end it here. Priest Rami Nair, Director of Intercultural Dialogue Forum at the Coptic Evangelical Organization. Thank you very much for joining us. Dr. Hassan Wagi, Professor of Linguistic and Political Science at Al-Azhar University. Thank you very much for your input here.
Welcome.
Dear viewers, many thanks for watching. Tomorrow will be another debate with another colleague. Good night.